Hi, this is David Baumblatt from Terabinth Leadership. Welcome to the program. Today we're going to be talking about feminism, which is really only found in the West. It's not really found in non-Western countries. And we're going to look at it, which is probably a point you've been talked about before, heard about before, but that is feminism, communism, and globalism. Very all related. It is one of the legs that's going to destroy the West. It already is. Anyone with common sense sees it. Before I begin, just think about this point. And when I think about feminism, it is directed toward white women. I've said many times, I don't really have any issues with non-white women. It is what it is. It's just, again, focusing mostly on white women. But to the white women, think about it. Besides white women in the West, you are the most spoiled women in the world. Don't believe me. Think to yourself, what women other than white Western women are more spoiled than you? It's not China, that's for sure. But think about that. It's a horrible moniker to have as a woman. You think about your white mother, your daughters, your sisters, your girlfriends, your white wives, and to think that's their label, the most spoiled women in the world. And if they were thankful, then at least it would be a balance. But how unthankful to white women think. The patriarchy, the oppressed. It's really horrible. Talk about a betrayal to their white fathers, white not. So we're going to talk about feminism. One of the keys is, before we begin, there'll be different episodes about feminism, but we are going to focus on one topic, at least in the beginning, and that's voting, and make it known, because that's the core question of feminism. And I talked about it before. And that if you are a white woman, the most important question to ask from a nationalist ideology, from men to you, is, do you believe women deserve the right to vote? It's a yes or no question. If you think yes, that's not necessarily bad, but you are a feminist. That's it. That's the only question that needs to be asked. Because feminism is about power. And traditional societies, who has the power? Men. Natural societies are patriarchy. Now, with leadership, that's where power is. It comes both privilege and responsibility. This is where that old saying of the ship is sinking and women and children first, so the life rafts. And what happens to men? Well, they die. So that's the privilege and the onerous of being leadership. But when women want to vote, the voting power, that means they want to share equal power. The problem in society, and anyone with common sense knows it, women want all the benefits of that power balance, but they don't want responsibility in many ways. I mean, we could look at the draft as number one, or even me as a West Point graduate. If you think as a civilian that female military members are pulling the same weight or having the same standards in the military as men, then you're reading a fantasy book. It's not even close. So we constantly alter the standards to meet the women. So again, this is the modern day feminism, which is a joke, and that is they want the benefits of being a man, but they don't want the responsibilities. But if you're a woman and say, yeah, I want the right to vote, and I will be treated equally as a man, and it's easier said than done. Most women who even say it don't live up to it. But technically, then I wouldn't argue with you, but in the long run, it's not going to work because the majority of women don't want it. So again, we're going to go into the video, but I think that's the key question again, is about power, and that's voting. And if you want a society where the women want the right to vote, then they need to be treated as men. There's no more gender then, because that's one of the whole reasons of feminism is gender discrimination. The whole part is from feminism, which is part of communism and globalism, is there is no more gender. We are human beings. Well, then that's how it is. Even something as simple as a bathroom. There's no more men, there's no more women bathroom, there's only bathrooms. And ask yourself, who would be the one who would complain more when the standards are exactly the same? Even something also as simple as sports. There's no more women's sports, there's no more male sports, there's just one sports team. Who would be the first one that says, I'm out of this? Be women. So again, this is the crux. Now we're going to do some quick news on this. I did it was kind of a long interview. It was one of these live interviews on X, and I just want to kind of give thanks and do a little background. The interview is also posted on Rumble. Again, it's about a 5-hour, it's a live X feed, and I should say thank you for the people that, in a sense, helped me out, helping to get my to word out. Let me first give the thanks. Actually, let me first do this here. This is okay. This is, I guess it's pronounced Dedo. Dedo, thank you very much. I just randomly met Dedo, or Dedo met me. I guess he's a man from England, and he was the one who then recommended me. So thank you very much, Dedo. I appreciate that. If anyone wants to follow Dedo, there you go. But anyway, Dedo introduced me to this man. Hopefully everyone can see. Okay, this man called Ian. Let me see. Ian 84. So I don't know Ian 84, but Ian 84 reached out to me, says, "Hey, I do live streams," and he's got a large following. He's like, "Let me get on the live stream," and he had me on the live stream, and that's the video that I had on there on Rumble. It was about a 5-hour talk about everything, the FBI, stuff like that. What's interesting too that I found is when I did that, let me pull this back up. It's interesting on social media. You meet people or you don't meet people. You don't realize people are following, paying attention. But supposedly Eon Malcolm 84. I guess he's got a negative following, for the best I can think about, from the Jewish community or Israel's or Zionists. Again, I don't know this. I saw some of his stuff. I get the whole Jewish thing, but out of the blue, after the interview, I had Jewish people that I never knew, and they were pretty negative on some of my comments on there. But it is what it is. I've said many times, I think that the average American, if you said, do you support Israel or do you support Palestine? Do you support Ukraine or do you support Russia? Do you support Taiwan or do you support China? I think most Americans would say, care less, neither one. Let's keep our tax money in America and let's start putting America first. And to these countries overseas, the best of luck to them. So people think I have a negative view of Israel. Not really. I just think that the influence that Israel has on America is just ridiculous. And if that was replaced by a country like Canada or obviously something like China, Russia, it would be red flags. But even like an ally like Britain, Germany, Canada, it still would be weird. We would be like, why are we doing this? Some people thought I didn't speak out hard enough against the Jews or say it, but I think we all know in the media, there's this integration process that's happening with the U.S. military in Israel. I thought I was very clear when I said it, but I guess I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's very dangerous. I've never heard of such a thing. So people thought I wasn't, some comments were coming back, but no, I think it's absolutely crazy. Again, you got to remember, I'm in a different viewpoint too. I left America. I don't pay my taxes, and I've come back here not like I wanted to be a whistleblower in terms of to talk about government corruption. And the average American, these are MAGA. Again, I'm not a fan of MAGA anymore. It's been absolutely horrible. So the point is sometimes is let them do what they got to do with America. Sometimes people are going to have to learn through true hardship what's going to happen. But I think a lot of times in America there's a lot of talk, which I'm doing here too, talk. But I think at the end of the day, nothing changes until pain comes. And pain comes in the form of economics and security. And I just don't think anything's going to change until pain comes. But it's coming. It 100%. So people could believe me now. And I did another episode too where I won't go into it. We got to do the episode. People are like, no, he's working for Israel. No, other people accuse me of being a white supremacist. No, he's working for China. No, he's still working for the U.S. intelligence community. And I get that. Coming on social media, people are going to point fingers to you however you are. It's freedom of speech. Let it happen. As time goes on, we'll see. But like I said, for the United States government to be silent on my case, it's a cover-up. So anyway, let's keep going. But anyway, thanks to Ian 84. I am scheduled in August another episode on it, on China. People probably going to think I'm a puppet for Beijing. I'm not. It's as far from it. But like I said, feel free to critically think what I say, and if you think it's wrong or you think it's biased or whatever, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Anyway, let's keep going. So thank you very much to Ian on that. That was very a great opportunity. Let's talk about something that is pretty interesting, and that's Adolf Hitler. Let's talk about Adolf Hitler. Something I find interesting is, like I said, I mentioned this before too, China is not a country of free speech. It just is what it is. But you could believe me now or believe me later. There are subjects in China which are taboo in America or the Western country. They're not taboo in China. One of them is Adolf Hitler. To the Chinese, they view Adolf Hitler as the symbolic leader of what a leader is. One, he's a man. Men are leaders. Two, racially, they are ethno-nationalists. It makes sense. Two or three, most people don't realize, but Adolf Hitler was a very, you could say heroic. I mean, I don't know all the details. I read about him, but in World War I, think about today's our politicians in America. Donald Trump, a repeat draft dodger, but a lot of these politicians are lawyers, not much. Adolf Hitler was a World War I military veteran and a very, in some ways, you could say, an heroic exemplar in terms of his action. So we go on and on, but I'm just saying what the view of Adolf Hitler is in the West, and this is what should really ring your bell. This is not just from the Jews. This is not just from Democrats. This is from MAGA. Meaning, if a great leadership stance is if everyone or the majority agree on something or disagree on something, that's something you should look into. But Adolf Hitler, think about it. That is something that it seems everyone disagrees in America. The Democrats don't like him. The Republicans don't like him. Obviously, the Jews don't like him. It seems everyone doesn't like him. That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Why? So anyway, most people are misunderstood about Adolf Hitler, and here we are too, even with Elon Musk. And that's something too I saw at Harvard. You'll find some very smart people like Elon Musk, but their brain patterns or brain waves, sometimes they're lacking in some of these common sense, especially when I work for Amazon. There's techie people that are very, they have this, they're very adept at certain types of intellectual capabilities, but in other ones they're lacking. And this topic, I guess, Adolf Hitler would be about political leadership. Boy, Elon Musk, this guy's a moron on this. But anyway, let's take a look at this. Here's the debate. Adolf Hitler. Think about this guy's going to be immoral. Adolf Hitler. So Elon Musk said Hitler was, I guess, so power of the people. Hey, Grok, was Hitler a socialist or a fascist? I can answer that immediately. He's a fascist, but whatever. I don't view fascism as necessarily bad. I want to make sure everyone can see this. And then Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, who's intellectually superior in many capabilities, comes out and says, Hitler was also left, just a different type of left, the hardcore. Oh my God, this guy's a moron. And here we come. We have Grok coming to his rescue. And then what's interesting is you had MAGA politicians. I don't know if you guys, a senator from Utah named Mike Lee. Mike Lee chimed in. These guys are retarded. They said Hitler's a socialist, but he was a bad socialist. No, he's not. I've said many times, World War II is going to return to us, not in the kinetic sense, but in the political ideology. There were three political ideologies that were being fought. One was communism, the Soviet Union, which doesn't have a good track record. I'm not a supporter of communism. And that is, and I'm not an expert on Adolf Hitler either, but I think this subject of World War II, we don't know about, and there should be more open dialogue, debate, so we can learn the truth. I don't believe we know the truth, but there's many records that Adolf Hitler's number one enemy were the communists. So I'm not a fan of communism, which people are like, well, then what are you doing in China? Well, I've explained that before. There was a time where China was communism. I would not describe communism, China today as communism. Under Deng Xiaoping, post Mao Zedong, there is a transformation. This is National Socialism or fascism, if you want to call it. But back to World War II, three ideologies. Probably the most evil ideology that we are brainwashed in the West is fascism. We're brainwashed. If you go around to most Americans, say, what's more evil, fascism or communism? People would probably say fascism is more evil. How did that happen? Probably the same reason anything that's attached to Adolf Hitler is evil. But anyway, our ideology, and again, our ideology in America changed. America 200 years ago, or even 100 years ago, World War II, has morphed. So there was a time where you could say this liberal democracy, capitalism was a good system, but it's changed now. Just like China changed from communism to fascism. That's how the world goes. But today, America is more communist than China. Why? We're globalists. Whether you believe that or not, Donald Trump, I was definitely on the bandwagon with him because he preached nationalism, but he's failing. He's failing in many ways of nationalism. At the end of the day, he's part of this oligarch globalist club, to include Elon Musk, who doesn't really respect military veterans. So I would view America today as this globalist corporation and China being more national socialist fascism. But how would I describe Adolf Hitler? Well, they're called the Nazis. Now, that's a slang word, but it's short for National Socialism. That's what they are. I don't even think about this. You don't even need to go like I did to the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. You have American congressmen and senators. They don't even know this stuff. Like Mike Lee. And what's even worse, these aren't Democrats. These are MAGA, and they're talking out their asshole on these subjects. That should scare you, or that should make you very worried. This is not right. I mean, these are congressmen and senators, and they don't know basic history. And what do I keep saying? There was another pushback on, I guess, Ian Malcolm 84 that I didn't go harder on 9/11. I make it clear, I don't believe the truth that happened in 9/11. Now, people are like, well, are you denying that Israel did it? I'm not going to confirm or deny that. I'm just saying, I don't know, but I believe that the story told in 9/11, I don't believe it. For the same reason I said about World War II. I don't believe the story there. But these congressmen and senators, I mean, they had absolutely drank the Kool-Aid too. You mentioned Adolf Hitler. We don't even know basic ideologies. It's called National Socialism, people. But anyway, we're going to keep going on this because it gets worse and worse. Then we're going to get to the women thing. But anyway, so let's come here with Trump. Let me bring this up. Trump, here we go. And this is Gunther, whatever, communism has failed. Gunther is basically just a paid political person by Trump. That's fine, but he's biased. And he's like, Trump is right about everything. And I think Trump said something too about communism has failed. Yeah, I guess President Trump, maybe. Yeah, communism is a mortal threat to American liberty. This is great. Okay, I get that. I'm not a supporter of communism, but if you want to call China, because people call China fascism, people call China I don't know, because either way, communism should not be supported in America, but fascism isn't either. But you got Americans going to China buying products. Then some guy tries to call me a moron here. Hopefully everyone can see it. And he's like, David, are you ignorant about trade? Boom, boom, boom. I don't know if everyone can see that. No, it's pretty simple. If you're an American and you buy products made from China, that money is going to support the Chinese government and China and the Chinese people. If you are against, well, let's say fascism, because I'm not going to consider China communism, but if you're against fascism, then you're against your principles. But we don't have many principles in America. It's all about the money. But that's what it is. And I just don't think people get that I really don't think America doesn't really have it. I think Donald Trump really isn't a president. He's a CEO. If you really ask, what is American ideology? Follow the money. That's all we are. Okay, let's begin today's show. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this quick clip. We're going to start out, and we're going to do other clips about feminism. But this, I think, is the most important clip out of everything, and that's women's right to vote. This is where men need to put women on the spot. And if you're a woman and you disagree and say, no, women deserve the right to vote, I'm not going to argue with you, but you're a feminist. You are a feminist, and you want to share equal power with men, which means what I'm not going to agree with you is I'm not going to cater to you. I'm not going to spoil you. I'm not going to treat you like a little girl. It's not going to be women and children first, still children first, but women, it's gone. You are going to be treated like a man. A man is going to be treated like a woman, vice versa, and we are human beings because there's no such thing as gender discrimination under feminism. And once that's done, I think most women then will change their mind and say, no, I don't want this stuff. I want to go back to a traditional. That's the key point. So if you want to vote, have fun. But you're a feminist, number one. And men, it's up to men. And it's not your fault. To the white women out there, even though I feel like I'm blaming you, it's not. It's not your fault at all. This is the fault of weak white men. Only weak white men, usually weak white men, cater to women's need because they have low testosterone and they're trying to get sex from women. High testosterone men, they don't need to grovel for sex. They will hold women accountable. And how do you hold women accountable? You're either a traditional woman, which means I'm the boss, or you're a feminist. And we're going to share power, and we're also going to share responsibility. So when there's a war and there's a draft, you're going to get drafted with me on the front lines. You don't want that? That's fine. But then you're going to lose your right to vote. That's how strong men hold women and hold men, hold their soldiers, and hold their children, accountable. We don't do that. We have weak men. No one holds accountable right now. So anyway, let's go. This is probably the most important video of the show right here. So let's go through this right here.
Do you think that we shouldn't have the right to vote?
I think that women should absolutely have the right to vote, but we need to be honest about the consequences of the downstream effects of how women choose to vote. So massive debt, immigration policies that are based on compassion and not on capacity. So we need to be honest about that, because the feminism movement has asked us to deny everything that is innate to us, that is inherent to us, and that we cannot control.
I would challenge you on one point in saying one of the best leaders that this country ever had was Margaret Thatcher.
And how many women does she have in her cabinet? Purposely, she purposely didn't want them around her. I would say most women didn't evolve and are not meant to lead.
You know, she's going to say it, but no, there's always going to be anomalies. The 1%ers, the 5%ers, maybe the 10%ers. And I could talk about female cadets at West Point. There's always going to be the 1%ers, maybe the 10%ers that really do truly perform. 90%, you could see it. It's so generalization. No, they do not perform at the same level. It's not even close.
And not because we are inferior, but because we are good at other things. And that is fine. That's fine.
Elizabeth I was one of the greatest monarchs we ever had.
But these women and few and far between. And if you look at history, yes, correct. And if you look at history, I think history shows that where there was a woman in power, a woman queen, for example, they waged more. She was a
strongest empire the world has ever seen.
Yes, and she firmly, in fact, I think I have the quote here, she firmly opposed feminism. She could not fathom why women would want to pursue feminism.
Margaret Thatcher was notoriously anti-feminist. She didn't agree with feminism. And she made that abundantly clear. She didn't believe that she should have special treatment.
But she was a great role model. I mean, she
brilliant.
Was a mother.
I mean, she was the greatest. For me, she's the greatest prime minister this country's ever had. She was a strong leader. She was principled.
Okay, so again, the first thing is this whole thing is to blame on men. This is not an attack on white women. Everything is to blame white men for allowing this to happen. But here's a point that goes even past feminism, the bigger picture. When we talk about diversity and feminism and all these issues that's happening, how much is too much? How far is too far? Well, if the country continues to thrive and grow and increase and get better, then I guess it's not a problem. If the country, which I believe is going to collapse, then something wasn't right. Something's not working. But this thing called feminism was never meant to happen. And the problem with feminism, I go again to the women who disagree with me. If you want to have equal power with men, which means you want the right to vote, that's it. Then you need to share equal responsibilities. And if you think as women, you share equal responsibility, even topics like sexual harassment, it would never even be the reverse. Or you'll even see feminist women, something as simple as they'll get on a train or a bus and maybe they'll see a pregnant woman or whatever, and the men won't stand up, the men will help them. Remember, if you are a feminist, that means you are against gender discrimination. You don't see men anymore. You don't see women. You don't see gender. We're human beings, which is against human nature, which is also, what's against human nature? Not seeing race. We see race. So in a traditional nationalist society, two things are as real as day, gender and race. They're as real as day. But even in MAGA, they try to push, they say gender's real, but they still, these women are feminists. These women, meaning these traditional MAGA women, at the end of the day, they're feminists. They don't recognize race. So it is what it is. If anyone disagrees with me, let's see how the West performs. And if the West performs well, I'm wrong. If it doesn't, then something about this formula is wrong. And one of them is this issue with women voting. They should never have been allowed to vote. Why? Because women don't want to accept equal responsibility for that power. They never will. When this country, look at even something that comes to my mind, Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, probably will go down as one of the worst chancellors in the history of Germany. She doesn't have children. So when Germany just absolutely falls, which it is, she's not going to be held responsible. They don't care. They're not held. Men, though, are ingrained, especially men who learn leadership. You have to have a sense of accountability. You have to have that, which Trump, it's another story. But anyway, let's start going through these clips and let's talk about them. But every clip is about the same thing. This is about feminism in different sort of ways.
A number of female clients in my history. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble here, but you show me any kind of entitlement program and I'll show you a grift. Like I have a number of female clients in my history who've come in and said, I own 7 businesses. And I go, really? What do you do? And she's like, oh, nothing. My husband runs all of them, but they are women-owned businesses. So they get all kinds of tax breaks and favorable bid progressions. And some of them, without giving away client confidentiality, have worked on some of the biggest projects in New York State history. Like, I'm talking tens to hundreds of millions of dollars of government contracts to women-owned businesses that the woman has literally never set foot in or has anything to do with. Like, I have clients who their entire business model is finding African-American individuals who they can say, you're now CEO of this company. Don't say anything, just sit there, because now it's a minority-owned business. But it's really being run by and all of the profits taken by non-African-American individuals. This is the nature of these. You show me an entitlement program of any kind, even with the best of intentions, and I will show you people that have figured out how to bounce around it and use it for their own advantage. And that's how it works.
So you have to use common sense. If America was a white supremacist country, if it was a patriarchal country, then why would be so many majority white men leaving? Why would I leave? If America caters to white men, then then the assumption would be this is the place of land and hunt for milk and honey for white men. I left. So the point being is, and let's think about, before we go to the next clip, think about this, and this could also go with minorities, blacks, and whatever. Do you really think white men, we really are stopping and oppressing either women or racial minorities from success, like starting your own business? Like, why don't you see that? Why don't you see more women opening up their businesses, blacks open up their business and becoming very successful like white men do? Do you really think most white men, we could care less? I mean, good luck to you. It's a very difficult thing to do, become an entrepreneur. But you have to ask yourself, why don't you see more women as successful entrepreneurs? Why don't you see racial minorities as successful entrepreneurs? It's because the white man's oppressing. Well, I could tell you just from my lens, and again, I could be wrong. I could be an anomaly, but from my lens, I left America. So it's not like I'm oppressing people. And like I said, it would be odd that if America caters to white men, why would I leave? And I could tell you in some ways, Asia, Asia's complicated, meaning if you're a foreigner, you're always going to be a guest. You're never going to have power in Asia. But as a white man, they do treat you very well. And in many ways, they treat me much better here than in America, even in some fashions, like me being West Point. It's like they know more about West Point in Asia. But I don't want to go on a tangent, but we have to ask ourselves again, if America is a land of milk and honey for white men, why would white men want to leave? I left. 2, why don't you see more women and racial minority successful entrepreneurs? Do you really think the white man is oppressing you and holding you back? Or maybe they don't want to do it. Maybe they're not competent, something like that, meaning the blame should go on them. And then, of course, what he said is there are so many governmental preferential, tax preferential programs for, again, racial minorities and women that's ridiculous. And what would that be? Well, that's another form of discrimination. Another form where a white man, why would you want to be drafted in the military and fight and die for a country and a system that discriminates you? Well, what do you think our founding fathers? Is he Spartan secure? I was never in the military of any country. West Point would be my dream if I was a kid. Yeah, it's weird. I know I'm doing a tangent, but China's very familiar with West Point. I mean, I just don't, and of course I'll do a tangent, but, and I focus on MAGA. I always focus on MAGA because at least I was MAGA, but whatever, but MAGA, like I support military veterans. Well, I could tell you, and I can only speak from my realm, but I'd be interested what other military veterans, but I could tell you the treatment that I've gotten from MAGA is absolutely unpatriotic, absolutely disingenuous, and very dishonorable. But if you're a person in America that says, I don't support military veterans, I'm not going to argue with you. In fact, that attitude is a step in the right direction to change the system because our military doesn't support you. But if you're going to be MAGA and you're going to say, I support military veterans, not to disrespect me on there. I get comments all the time. In fact, I should show you a comment. I don't want to go. One time I'll do it, but yeah, it's an interesting story. Let's go another story. And this also relates to Asia.
He also has a daughter who's How young do you think men would date if it was legal? Because this is Tobey Maguire. He's 50 and his girlfriend is 20. He also has a daughter who's 19. His girlfriend and his daughter were born the same year. And it's not like he was a young dad. He wasn't a teen parent. He had his daughter when he was in his 30s. His girlfriend can't even legally have a drink. His girlfriend was born after Spider-Man 2 came out. And see, to me, that's weird. But if you look at the comment section on this picture on Twitter, it's just a bunch of guys going, so what? It's legal. It's legal. Two consenting adults, not against the law. What's the problem? So if the law is the only thing stopping you, I have to wonder, how low would you go? Because me personally, when I was dating, I did not have to look up the age of consent in my state before setting an age range on Hinge. So what the hell is wrong with men that you want to date somebody who was born when you were 30? By the way, I'm 31 right now, so that means that Tobey Maguire and his girlfriend have the same age difference as me and a 1-year-old baby. Drop it in the comments.
Okay, now some people would use the thing, hey, don't judge it. No, it's freedom of speech. Let her judge, because I'm going to judge her now. So, people judge me. She judges Tobey Maguire. Meaning judgment is a form of free speech. So whatever. So she judges, and now I'm going to judge. What do I think? Well, it's a free world. Our law dictates that 18 years old or older, you're an adult. So if an 18-year-old wants to date a 100-year-old, whether it's a man or a woman, but we all know it's usually the man who's older and the woman's younger. Now, what has China changed me with dating? Again, I'm a 50-year-old man, and I've dated many times older women, and I could tell you, don't do that. I guess if you want to have sex, but something like that. But I think a lot of people, and there's going to be people in the comments, if this was a larger audience, that says, I'm an older woman, and I married a younger man, and it's fantastic. That's just dandy, but you are an anomaly. Generally speaking, good relationships, meaning good long-standing relationships, the man needs to be older. But let's specify age gap. And China changed me on this. We're going to use the age gap of 10 years old. If a man is 10 years older than a woman, that is not, again, this is according to China, and I've changed as well. That is not an older man, younger woman relationship. You know what that is? Normal. So a man is 40 years old and a woman is 30. It's just normal. If a man, you got to get to about 20 years difference, and then we get sort of older. The girl that I'm with, she's 15 years younger than me. I wouldn't even bat an eye. After living in China, I could be, as a 50-year-old man, be with a 20-year-old girl. And again, I've said many times, and to any white women who said, I prefer white women, I've always said it, but your attitude, there's a lot of great white guys, and I talk with them in Asia. They actually prefer white women. White women turn them down. So, and trust me, the Asian girls know it. I tell them that. So the white men say, all right, well, I guess I'm going with an Asian girl. So a lot of these white women get mad when they see a white man with an Asian girl. What they don't know is a lot of these white men prefer to be with a white woman. These white women, whatever their standards are, whatever their attitudes are, they said, screw you. So what are we going to do? No, then I'll go with an Asian girl. But I could tell you something. In terms of age gap, it wouldn't bat an eye. So again, me at a 50-year-old man being with a 20-year-old girl, like in Asia, wouldn't even bat an eye. Now, this guy, Tobey Maguire, I don't know what it's like life in America. I don't know what it's like, but I can tell you in Asia, would not even bat an eye. And people are like, yeah, but she's with you for the money. Whatever reason that you want why she's with, and whatever reason that I want to be with her, it is what it is. But I'm just telling you, it's not as abnormal as it is. And it's also based a lot on biology. Men just like younger women. How far? Well, I could tell you something. Like I said, I guess it comes in culture. But if it's a 10-year age gap, that in Asia is not considered an older man, younger woman relationship. That's just considered normal. So if you're a 30-year-old dude and you're dating a 20-year-old girl, that is not an older man, younger. It just is what it is. It's normal. That's what I'm trying to say. You got to get to I'd say 20 years or more, 30 years or more. And then it's sort of that older man. And there's plenty of that. So it is what it is. But, this woman wants to judge Tobey Maguire. Do it. It's free speech. Go for it. Look at the comment. Trump is aligned some people upheld the values. Trump. Yeah, I'm reading this. Like I said, I knew Trump was a draft dodger. I knew that. But what I assumed was he was going to be against wars. So it's sort of the best logic you could do. What I didn't know, and that's not what he campaigned, is Trump saying, I'm a draft dodger. but I want to change the Department of Defense into the Department of War, and I just want to go blowing up things and starting wars. I mean, what a piece of shit that is. His kids, his children never served in the military. There's other videos I want to do. It's pretty bad. I mean, it's pretty bad. In fact, now that I remember this, I'm going to do this one quick thing that I got on my X feed, and I blocked her. There comes a time when a man, if you get disrespected, I'm not going to argue with you anymore. You have your free speech, but it's still my private platform. I blocked this woman. And she's MAGA, by the way. These are MAGA. She reads my bio and she goes, you left America. You're a traitor. I'm not going to support you. That's what she did, because I left. Okay, this is MAGA, by the way. MAGA. Okay, to any MAGA people, because I'm telling you, I'm giving you feedback at least from one person. MAGA support, to include Donald Trump, I'm not impressed with him. MAGA support of military veterans is basically dog shit. Now, trust me, a lot of military veterans, we don't even like each other. We need to police each other because our military's gone so out of whack. We're government mercenaries. We don't serve the people. We serve the government, and the government serves the corporations. So if you're a military veteran or have common sense, you just have to admit it. But anyway, I look at this civilian, I'm like, okay, so you have no problem sending military members overseas to fight and die on your behalf. This fucking person never served in the military. So you have no problem sending me overseas to fight and die. After I've honorably served my country, I mean, what are we, fucking North Korea here? We're a free country. If you want to come, you want to go, you're a citizen. And then after I serve my time, I want to leave America because I think it's a better life. Then I'm a traitor. So you're a military veteran. You can go overseas on their behalf, citizens' behalf, like Iran, to fight and die for these faggot civilians. But then once you honorably serve, if then you said, you know something, I want to leave. You have no clue. When I served, I did most of my military time in Germany. A lot of military veterans, because especially if you're an enlisted guy and you do 20 years, your retirement pay isn't that great. And a lot of them living overseas, they wanted to retire in Eastern Europe because your money goes far. They like the women in Eastern Europe. Some of them open like a bar. You can't do that. You know, a military veteran. So we send the military overseas, for instance, in Germany to serve. They retire. And they said one of my soldiers retired in Romania. He liked Romania. So he did his time. He's honorable. The American public said, you're going to go overseas and fight and die for us. He does. He honorably serves and says, you know something? I've done my time. I've honorably served, but I prefer to live in a country like Romania. No, you're a traitor. You got to come back to America because we're North Korea. Like, what is going on? Now, if this were liberals, because again, I don't talk much with liberals, but MAGA likes to make fun with the libtards. These MAGA people are fucking cold. These are some of the most fake fucking people I've ever seen. If Donald Trump pivots in one direction, they will lick his asshole and just follow it. Remember, leadership is following principles. It's not necessarily following people. It's following principles. I agreed a lot with Donald Trump on what he campaigned. What he campaigned and what he's doing, I'm telling you people, sooner or later, you're going to wake up, it's not there. But I'm telling to the MAGA people. Now, if you have other military veterans who disagree and say, David, I disagree, I'm a military veteran and they're treating me great. Okay, then maybe I'm an anomaly, but I'm telling you something. As a military veteran, there's still emails where the government is hiding. Why am I on what's called the federal watch list, the FBI watch list? I could go on and on. How the government's treated me is ridiculous, and how MAGA's treated me is horrible. Am I an anomaly? Maybe I am. Maybe other people are treated. But I remember that one comment, like, you piece of shit. You know, the government sends me overseas to fucking die on your behalf, and I honorably serve. And now as a civilian, I just want to go live in another country because I feel like I'm being treated and I'm a traitor for this fucking civilian. It's like Donald Trump, who never served in the military. I get it. I really think the military's turned into shit. And I don't think our military is serving the American public. I get that. But they're still in me. I wasn't that. I didn't join the military for a paycheck and a pension because I didn't get it. I left. You're not giving me a paycheck and a pension. I at least joined for duty on our country. I went in there, I realized it ain't duty on our country, and I left. But at least when I was in there, I did the best I could. I served honorably, and I did it for my country. I know it's a tangent, but I'm telling you, there are some MAGA that are some piece of shit. At least I'd have more respect for a liberal that says, I hate white men. I hate military. I hate, strong testosterone. At least they say it. At least it's out in the open. And I'm like, okay. But MAGA people are like, we support military veterans. And I'm telling you, you have no clue. I've been on social media now for 3 years. The amount of comments, because I focus on MAGA, asking them for help, the comments that I get from MAGA is absolute dog shit. To the point that even the Trump administration absolutely knows who I am. It's obvious. 100% the Trump administration absolutely knows who I am, and they're absolutely silent. That's called the cover-up. And if they were MAGA, they'd say something is wrong here. It is time for the government to answer. I know it's a tangent, but man, I got that comment. I'm like, who are these fucking idiots? Well, back to the feminism. Let's go. Here's another topic. Boy, this is about standards. Now, I've said this many times. You heard about women having high standards. You know, I want a man 6'5", blue eyes. You know what I think about it? In some ways, raise the standards. Why? Because a lot of these women, and you know, when they get older, they're not going to have any men. Because, I mean, you can't change the standard, but you know as well as I do, women's standards for men is through the roof, where men's standards for women is a much lower, I guess you could say, practical. But if men, we're going to do this clip about women's standards, but if it was reversed, like we're just going to say like a nightclub that only allowed skinny women in and not fat women, what would happen? You'll get it. Watch this clip.
Requirement for men to enter. Did you guys see there now is a club in London where there's a height requirement for men to enter?
Saw that,
yeah. Yeah. How do we feel about that?
Oh my God. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Where is
6 feet and above.
How do they do it though?
Yeah.
They have like a tape measure at the entrance. They have a
Oh my
line
God,
up
imagine.
there.
That would be brutal. Like for children at roller coasters.
Yeah, literally, and they're wearing their platform shoes.
So if you're 5'11", you're just absolutely not allowed into this club?
No.
What's interesting is this. So I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'5". So the Asian girls short, they're short, and they know it. In fact, I tell them straight up. They know exactly. I think the most beautiful women in the world are white women. My personal choice, it just is a tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl. Not that much creativity. I think most guys would agree with me. But here's the point. It is amazing. This is kind of the ego with women. And there's nothing you can do but free speech. You know, if they want to talk, you should be able to talk. But meaning these women with their high standards, wait until they're 30, 35, 40, and it's called hitting the wall. I mean, I guess that's the time to laugh. But, you know, you can't force someone to change their standards. But you know as well as I do, these standards are unrealistic. So what do I mean about height? I definitely prefer a tall girl, like a 5'10", 6 feet tall girl. I really like it. And I think you would agree it would make sense if you met a girl that was 5'10" or 6 feet tall and you said, how tall do you prefer your boyfriend or husband to be? It would probably make sense, a 6 foot tall girl to say, I want 6'4", 5'6", maybe 7'8". I get it. I cannot tell you how many girls. Now, we're not talking Asian girls. Asian girls don't care. If you're a white guy, I mean, trust me, the standards in Asia are low, low, low. If you're a white guy and you can't get Asian girls, something is seriously wrong with you. So I'm focusing on white girls. I cannot tell you how many times I've met short white girls, short, 5'1", 5'2", 5'3". And you would think their standard for height, so we'll say a 5'3" girl, I don't know, 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" for a guy, it's all too short for them. So you're a 5'3" girl, and guess what these girls want? 6'3" or above. And it's like, and we know, and it's these standards with everything. So what do I think? You know, you can't force the girls. They have their standards. But I think what's going to happen is sooner or later, when they get older, they're not going to achieve their goal. And I guess it's called hitting the wall. And that's when it's time to laugh at them. But it is sad. It's sad on their part, but it's also sad on the men's part that maybe this is social media, Hollywood, where women see that one girl on Hollywood, you know, this is where media, where she gets all of her dreams come true. So all the women in the world think they see this one media influencer, which is that anomaly, and they think, I want exactly the same as this woman, and I'm going to have exactly the same standards, which we all know it's just not going to happen. Something's weird, but I can tell you, man, the women's standards are through the roof. Anyway, let's keep going here, and this is about marriage, and guess what it's showing? Marriage is crumbling too. And is feminism part of this? Probably so. I wouldn't doubt it.
Note obtained by ABC News shows domestic. Well, a concerning warning for couples now. A new DHS intelligence note obtained by ABC News shows domestic partners are increasingly using chemical and biological toxins to kill their partners. The data finding that people intend on harming or killing their partners are turning to poisons like cyanide, often sourced from online black markets or made at home. The document highlighting the case of a Colorado dentist convicted of first-degree murder after gradually poisoning his wife's protein shakes. Let's bring in our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Kontursky. He's been following this for us. So clearly, the trend is so alarming, DHS had to issue a warning. So what's going on, Aaron?
Which is pretty astounding, Kira, when you think about it. But they have seen increasing numbers of cases where a husband or wife or other domestic partner is turning to these poisons, in large part, the authorities think, because they can often mimic natural deaths. Sometimes they can conceal themselves, and sometimes they are slow to release. So the death can occur gradually, and you might not pinpoint an exact cause. Perhaps they're hoping to get away with it in that way. But these substances have been increasingly turned to by domestic partners, the authorities say, and so much so that the Department of Homeland Security is now warning law enforcement to be on the lookout for these black market chemicals, and when they respond to domestic situations, to understand that these poisons may be present.
We'll stay on the story. And if you're a victim of domestic violence,
reminds me of time in the FBI, so we would go on wiretaps. Now, of course, on wiretaps, you're looking at illegal activity, collecting information, but sometimes you overhear information that doesn't relate to the crime that's personal. I mean, you're listening, and again, some of this, I really didn't like it. It's just not my thing. Some people really, I think women like this more. They're the nosy people, the nosy neighbors. They're addicted to Oprah Winfrey, the talk shows. But I mean, if you're into that, and some of these FBI agents are, it is a gold mine when you're listening onto these phones. I just don't like it. It's just not my thing. And so what do I mean by that relates to this story? I cannot tell you how many times we're listening on a married woman, a married man, because we're in their homes. I mean, sometimes the kids use the phones. It depends on what the phones are, the mobile phones. And guess what? Many times I'll hear the woman. Now, of course, if she's talking about murdering her husband, that could be different. But what about the stuff that's not illegal and talks about, yeah, I'm cheating on my husband, I'm going to steal his money, we're going to get a divorce, and planning it. And I'll tell you, it forever, what's the word I'm looking for? It forever stains you on relationships, on just how demonic some of these, and then again, there are men, but I'll tell you, there is a plethora of women that are utilizing men, and they're already conniving the divorce, the money, the cheating. I mean, in some ways, you almost want to tell the guy, obviously you can't do it, and just say, dude, you need to look out for your wife, soon to be ex-wife, but she is planning your absolute downfall. And when you listen in on people's private conversations more and more, you do get a sense of humanity. And I could tell you something. This is where I am in leadership, and it is what it is. And if you're the person who looks at the world and looks at the people as the glass half full, I'm not telling you to change your opinion. I think go for it. It's a positive attitude. And I don't want to be the person, as we say in the military, to piss on your parade. It's sort of like we look at, brand in the military, we have brand new recruits graduating from boot camp. Think Marine boot camp, Army boot camp. They just graduated from boot camp. And a lot of times they think they're Superman. They're going to take on the world, and they're so proud. Then you get the crusty old military veterans who already have FTA, fuck the Army. But you don't tell them that. You don't piss on their parade. And you think, something, they're graduating boot camp, and this is their day. They're the champion. They're the hero. And maybe when they get, what's the word I'm looking for? When they get disillusioned later on, not all of them, but a lot of them, then they're going to do it on their own. So, it's not my part, but you don't piss on their parade. Today's their parade. And when they say, I'm so glad I graduated from Army boot camp Marine, I feel like the most special person in the world. I love this country. I love the Marine Corps. I'll do anything. Hey, go for it. But in the back of your mind, you're like, give it 5 or 10 years. We'll see how it is. Well, it's the same thing when I'm just about to say the conversations that I heard in the FBI. I am a person, and I'm not saying this good or bad. It's just I look at the fucking world, I look at humanity as the glass half empty. It just is what it is. But I don't want to change your mind. I don't want to be that old military veteran. And if you're like, David, I disagree with you. I'm optimistic, I'm positive, and I think the world is half full, and then rock and roll, and I'm not going to hinder you. But I could tell you, some of the conversations I've heard, and even now what I'm going through with the government, I've just come to more and more negative, which is why I'm predicting there's going to be a major fucking catastrophe, war's coming. But if you're positive in your life, don't allow me to put negativity. But be careful. Sometimes negativity is not negativity. Sometimes the Chinese have a saying called 忠言逆耳, meaning the truth hurts. Sometimes what you perceive as negativity is not, it's just the truth. And sometimes nature can be very cruel. And nature is also about the human race, about people. Anyway, let's keep going to another one here. This is another one. This is another negative story here.
Did you know that out of the 79,700 men that were charged with domestic violence related crimes last year in Australia, 17,000 of those men were either found not guilty and acquitted of all charges in the court of law, or all charges were withdrawn and they had no case to answer to at all? Let it sink in. That means that 23% of men who are being charged have been falsely accused of domestic violence. Now, let me remind you, all of these men who have been charged had AVOs placed on them, which normally state, number one, the man can't go back to his own home. He generally can't see his kids anymore. He has to spend tens of thousands of dollars defending these bullshit claims. They normally lose their jobs, and in a lot of cases, these men are sitting in jail waiting to prove their innocence. Now, let me tell you an even worse statistic. Out of those 17,000 men who were found not guilty or no case to answer to, guess how many of the women who pressed those charges were either charged with giving false statements or perjury for lying in court? 0.3% of those women making those claims were held accountable. This is a fucking epidemic in this country. It's a systemic failure, and women know that they have no accountability and they have every incentive to make these allegations against men. They get all the financial gain, they get the kids, they get the house, they get everything they want, and they're pampered by the system while they're doing it with no case to answer to. Wake up, Australia. Any one of you women who wants to jump in my comments and challenge these statistics, please do. Men, tell your story. There's so many of you out there who are going through this. Tell your story, stand up. This is fucking bullshit. We need to do something about this and have your voice heard. Follow.
So living in China, I could tell you this feminism and rape charges, this doesn't fly. You need evidence. So to the women out there, let me tell you how a traditional man looks at the topic of rape. In fact, it was in the news just recently. I think she was a British woman who wanted to go to India with her kids. Yeah, great place to go. But anyway, she goes to India with her kids. And these were Pakistani man in India, whatever. It is what it is, but Pakistani man. She was in her car. She got stopped. She was on a rural road, something like that. I might be missing some of the details, but here's the story though. She was really scared of these men. So she stopped her car, locked the windows, everything. And she's got 2 children in her car too, 2 young children. They bust open the windows, drag her out, and brutally rape her in front of her children. That is called rape. What did India do? They're executing these men. Think of not just the trauma of the woman, think about her 2 children raped in front of them. They're going to be traumatized for life. That's what a nationalist, a traditional man thinks of rape. That's where men will defend a woman. That's where men will be pro-death penalty. This is where we're on your side. The problem is the Western world, now we've got rape like this thing called date rape. News to women, I don't give a fuck about date rape. One, there's usually no evidence, and the story goes like this. I met Johnny, I was dating Johnny, or I was in the bar and I wanted to go back to his place, which ding, ding, why would you go back to his place? Then we started having his sex and I thought I would try anal sex, but his cock was too big and I said stop and he didn't stop and I said no, and no means no, and that means date rape, and that means I don't give a shit. That's basically what that means. Don't care. This is not, if you raise a daughter, the first thing you tell the daughter is, wait a minute. First of all, what are you doing in a bar? You know, what does a traditional woman do in a bar? Second, why are you going home? But if for some reason we truly have evidence of this date rape, but what happens with date rape? He said, she said. And what do I think about that? Well, we always like to look, again, there's very few Americans that sued the Boeing Corporation, both in China and America. And I've seen it. I got justice in China. I got railroaded by the corrupt courts in America. So this thing that America has as justice system. But the one thing we should look at no matter what is something called evidence. Evidence. And generally speaking, in these he said, she said cases, there's no evidence. So even if it's a brutal rape, but of course in India we got broken windows, we've got children seeing this, we probably got her. Like when I think of a woman raped, I want to see ripped clothing. I want to see blood. I want to see a woman fighting for her life. That's what she did. So there should be plenty of evidence. Now we get to date rape. What's the evidence? I mean, she was like, well, I went here, and because you don't want to put an innocent man in jail, even though we do. We don't give a shit about these men, but it should be evidence. So I just want to make it known now, because this is where these whole cuck men have spoiled white women. If you truly were raped, men will truly come to your aid, defend you, death penalty. Really, it is one of the most demonic crimes in the world. But this date rape, it's been diluted. Same thing with racism now. Remember, there was before something called racism. It was like KKK saying, hey, let's go hang a nigger by a tree with a burning cross. That sounds like white supremacists. Now, what's the definition of white supremacist? I don't know, a white guy who starts talking. I mean, it's been diluted now. Same thing with rape, this thing called date rape. Not interested, especially if this woman doesn't even have evidence. It's he said, she said. Don't care. I really don't care. We have absolutely spoiled white women, and we are hurting more men because no one cares about the men. The amount of men that are in jail, their reputation getting fired. It is time where men, and again, I keep saying all these problems come back to men. I mean, we're to blame. Why? Should have never put women in power. Should have never put these cuck men in power. Even this guy, Donald Trump, trust me, I'm not into him. Like he's fighting for protecting women's sports. I mean, this guy's kind of a weirdo in itself. I mean, do I need to say anything more than the Epstein files? When the guy's like, are we talking about the Epstein files again? Something like that. So Donald Trump's kind of a weirdo sometimes. And oh, by the way, I'm doing a tangent. I don't look at Melania Trump as this traditional, she's an escort. It is what it is. I know I've been to her countries many times. I've been to many countries in the world before my passport got fucking chopped. But yeah, these Slovakia countries, these Eastern European countries, she hit the gold mine. She went to New York City and she became an escort, which is a nice word to say prostitute. She worked her way up. She didn't marry Donald Trump because he's such a nice guy, because he's a fucking billionaire. That's what prostitutes are. I'll do a video later on her about her shitcoin. But anyway, so I don't view Donald Trump in that regard too. He's kind of that sleaze. But let's go back to the topic. Brutally raped by a woman, we will defend you. Date rape, unless you have some extraordinary evidence that it's like, okay, generally speaking, what do I think about date rape? It's basically bad sex. The woman's pissed off. The woman's jealous. The woman didn't like it. The woman, I don't care. Bad sex, get the fuck out of here. And you take the man's word over the woman's word if there's no evidence. Why? Because you're innocent until proven guilty. So the man said no. The woman said yes. Is there evidence? No. Well, then the man needs to be let go. Why? Innocent until proven guilty. But that's something else. It's destroying a lot of men's lives in the West. That doesn't happen in China. They don't fuck around. All right, let's go to the next one here.
Mental abuse just like now. You know, I called the police because I'm scared because of your mental abuse just like now.
My mental
I don't
abuse.
feel safe. I mean, if he's going to be weird, then can he leave? If he's going to cause a lot of drama? Please don't record me right now.
No, I'm recording because I'm curious about this too.
Okay. So I just want to know what the law is as far as if we can't get along. in the home. It's been recently discovered that we're heading towards divorce, and so yeah, I don't feel safe with him in the home.
Your mother's right there in Berryville. And I pay all the bills. She doesn't work because she smokes pot all day. So she pays nothing for the house. I pay all the bills.
Not true.
You guys are legally married still,
for a
right?
job.
What's that, I'm sorry?
Are you guys still legally married?
Yeah,
Yes.
you've been supportive, and
Yeah, I pay all the bills. I have
been
to.
looking for a job.
So-
and I was let go from my job 3 weeks ago.
You're always let go because you're on pot and you won't take a job that has to drug test you.
untrue. That's untrue.
That's very true.
You know, I called the police
anyway.
because I'm scared because of your mental abuse, just like now.
My mental
I don't
abuse.
feel safe. I don't feel safe.
Generally speaking, until marriage law changes in the West, my advice to men is don't get married. The marriage laws need to change. What would be one of the laws? Whatever name the property is in, that's the owner. He doesn't leave. Now, if you're a man, we're going to assume you had the money and you bought the house. Now, if you want to put the house in her name, you're screwed. If you put it in both of your names, well, then you're both. Then you're not going to get kicked out. And if it's in your name, well, then she gets kicked out. But either way, that's just one example. But the marriage law right now, you get in a contract with these women, your house, your finances, your kids is so skewed to the woman's power that if there's especially domestic violence, you're done. Now, what does it do? Well, it's just going to tell men, like I'm telling, don't get married until the marriage law needs to change. I'll do videos on that, but there's two main issues that the marriage laws need to change. It's about money and children. That's the two things. When divorce happens, the two major issues, of course, if you don't have kids, it's not a big deal. But then if you don't have kids, why the hell are you getting married in the first place? But anyway, it's the children, custody, child support. That's the big issue. And the money, the assets. And those two things, I'll do a video in the future. I might have done one in the past, need to be radically changed. Very simple, too. Very simple how it's done. But until that happens, if you're a man and you sign this contract, which basically that's what marriage is, you're not signing the contract with the wife, you're signing with the government. And the government is going to side with your ex-wife when any of these confrontations happen, and your money and your children, you might even be sent to prison with some of these. Again, I don't want to do a tangent, but when I lived in Chengdu, Sichuan, was the first time I met an American man who literally was on the run for child support. His passport got revoked. I never in my life, because child support, unless I know, is not a federal crime. I think it's a state crime. So the FBI, we never dealt with it. But he told me the penalties if you don't pay child support. I thought he was lying to me when he first said that. I said, no way. It is no joke. Talk about another reason not to get married, which shouldn't, because we want men to get married. We want to have children. We need to have a healthy society. You have to change these laws, though. These laws are so skewed to destroy men. Never in my life until I talked with him and then I looked at the law that I thought you could get married, have children, not pay child support, which we get it. There's pros and cons of this and that, what he should do, but not pay child support. You get sent to jail. I never knew that. You get sent to jail. Your passport could get revoked and you're on Interpol arrest warrant. I mean, you're thinking like international drug dealers here, and you got Joe. What are you on for? Child support. It's like, there's no way. I'm telling you, it's bad. These laws are absolutely ridiculous. Once you go to these non-Western countries like China, not happening here. All right, let's keep going.
Did you get that? Okay.
You!
Did you get that? Okay. She's holding. So you cheat and then you wreck the house up. Wow. So you cheat and then you do this. That's wow.
Yeah, I am, because you're calling me a like, I don't have feelings, like, I'm not a real person, like, I didn't go through some real the last year. Are you kidding me?
We all did today, but I didn't cheat.
No, you didn't give a about my mental state. I was a brand new mom.
You didn't get shit on my either.
Yes, I did. When I couldn't handle my own you didn't care about that. You couldn't be strong enough.
Okay, so it's my fault. Okay, I don't care. Doesn't matter. It's over.
No, you have no idea where I was. And you don't care. You didn't care then. All you cared about was that I was making up. That my feelings were made up.
Well, I don't care now.
Are you serious?
I don't care now.
Okay, these are horror stories. What I would do, this leadership advice to men is this, because the law is not going to get changed anytime soon. If you're going to get into any serious relationship with a woman, especially with children, you better figure out how you've got to do it in a way where you are the one with power. 100%. If it cannot be done, don't do it. Or like for instance, I got one of my classmates from Harvard. She's one of these partners in law firms in New York City. And she goes to me, David, you're retarded. She goes, I'm a smart woman. I make a ton of money. I'm this level A woman. And you think I'm going to be the submissive woman. No, but I said, then you're not going to end up getting married and you're probably going to do some type of co-parent where you live apart. So that's different. If you meet a woman and you're like, well, I can't control her because that's what you need. You need the boss. Then you're just going to look at the woman and say, listen, you're never going to respect me because you're too powerful, which congratulations. This is why feminism is working. I mean, think about it. This is why women look around America and they look at the men and they think weak, not powerful enough, meaning they're not attractive enough. Well, then that's feminism's working. Then you could say we don't live in a patriarchal society. We live in a feminist society. If women look to society and they think of weak, which is another adjective for unattractive men, well, then it goes. It's not a patriarchal society. So if that's the case to women, then both vice versa for men, you're never going to be compatible. So the only way to sort of do it is, and we're looking for children, or maybe you're just going to have sex, is you're going to have to live apart. So these high-powered women are going to live in their own home, their own money, and just basically be single mothers. That's the only way you can, because it's not going to work. But you as a man, if you're going to combine, which is basically a merger and acquisition marriage, you better be the CEO with 90% of the power. And if that can't be, then you're going to admit to the woman, say, congratulations, you're just too powerful for me. So we could still do this, but we're going to have to be separate. And that's what's happening. That's why women are having single kids. What do I think about that? Well, it's not the perfect solution, but it is what it is. But it just shows that feminism is working, because that's why. But if you're going to get in truly a relationship, a marriage together with a woman, and if I ask you, who's the boss? And if you cannot immediately say me, and the woman cannot immediately say him, then you are in a dangerous situation. Then it's just not right. She's not going to respect you, and it's going to get worse. And then then try to, live apart, be friends, do some type of co-parents, because she's not going to respect you. But if you're in a relationship and she's like, he's my daddy, he's my boss, he tells me what to do when I do it, that's probably a relationship that can last a long term. Now, women can be offended by that, but like I said, to the women that make your money and you're smart, and congratulations to you, but you're going to you're not going to find a man. So you're probably going to have to look at being a single mother. And this is the pros and cons of feminism. The pro is you've succeeded, congratulations. The con is, even you will admit it, you can't find men that will meet your match. And even if you do find a man that's a top alpha male, he's probably not going to be looking at you as attractive. You may think he's attractive, but he's not looking at you as attractive. He'll probably take that dumb bimbo working at McDonald's who's 20 years old because she's hot and she's going to do what he says, because he's not interested in none of these other trinkets that you have, PhDs and partner stuff, something like that. So it's another story, but I can tell you the power imbalance in America, no wonder there's so many women don't respect weak men. And if you're with a woman and she's anything even close to your power, you're just going to have to say, hey, maybe we'll be friends with benefits, but we're not going to be able to come together, because sooner or later, she's going to walk all over you. She's going to walk all over you, and it's going to be, and you're going to end up in divorce. Anyway, let's keep going to the next one here. We'll come to this one.
There's so much talk about a woman's body.
It's always interesting when you give them their own logic.
There's so much talk about a woman's body, her choice, and like that. Yeah. My question is, if we give a woman the right to opt out of motherhood, right, should we also give a man the right to opt out of fatherhood and 18 years of child support?
I agree. You don't agree?
No, I don't know.
But if a mom walks into an abortion clinic and says, you know what, I'm not feeling this, and gets an abortion, the dad has no say. Let's just say it's a one-night stand, just hypothetical. Okay. And the mom comes back to the dad and is like, hey, I'm pregnant. Why can't he opt out if she was able to say, hey, I don't want this baby? It's a double standard.
Well, he could obviously sign his rights away, but he cannot physically make
he can't sign his rights away because he has to pay child support.
I mean,
he is legally bound by child support.
Honest, that's just the way it is.
But do you think it's right that a mom can say, I don't want this baby, but a dad never can?
I mean, I just think that's just the way it is.
But do you think it's right? Yes or no? I don't think it's right.
We spend so much time talking about a woman's choice.
Right, but the man doesn't have one.
But my only point is, what reproductive rights does a man have?
None.
I blame all this on men. Why? Worst thing we did was allow women the right to vote. Look at these women. I mean, the one woman was using common sense, but it's just horrible. This should have never happened with women's right to vote. So to answer this simple, now, of course, if abortion was illegal, it changes the entire argument for common sense. But abortion is legal. And what should be the law? If you as a woman have a child, unless there's a legal document that's voluntarily signed by the man, meaning child support, you're on your own. Because it's the reverse. There could be examples of the man getting a woman pregnant, both unintentionally, accidentally, and the woman says, I'm pregnant. And the man says, I want the child. I want to pay for it. I want to be a father. I want it. It is my child in there. And the woman says, nah, I'm going to kill it. And what can the men do? Fucking nothing. Nothing. That's a lot of power to the woman. Okay. Again, I'm not necessarily against abortion. I know it's a hot topic. We go back and forth. But if we're going to give women this power, then they need to have responsibility. So if a woman has the arbitrary power to give life or take life, then the man needs to have that power to either give money, meaning legal support, or not. And unless that man signs a voluntary document legally that says, yes, I acknowledge this is my child, and I acknowledge I will provide child support, whatever. If he doesn't sign that and he chooses not to, then guess what? That's how much child support. Now, of course, if they're legally married, then that should be automatic. You're married, something. But we're assuming this is a non-married out of wedlock. Then that woman, just like that man, is going to have to voluntarily persuade that woman either to have an abortion or not have an abortion if he wants a child, because it's her right. He's just going to have to persuade her, and she's going to voluntarily choose one or the other. The same thing for the man. That woman is going to have to attempt to persuade the man to either sign the document or not sign the document, and it's up to the man. That's how it should be. Why isn't that? Weak men. Everything goes back to weak men. Why? The same reason that weak men gave women the right to vote. But this is the same thing. These would be these tough feminists. Again, we have it either way. We have MAGA women saying they're traditional. They're not. You have MAGA. We have these women politicians. If you're a female politician, you're a feminist. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican. If you are a woman and you're a politician, you are an absolute feminist. So MAGA talks tradition. They're not. But if you are a woman who is a feminist, then by all means, you probably support abortion. Guess what to the man is? There is no automatic child support. That man needs to sign a voluntary document. Otherwise, it's a no-go. Here we go.
Years with American men. I'm single now. I was married.
Okay, so this story right here, to give a caveat, I don't know the background. I guarantee this is a Russian woman who got knocked up purposely to get her American citizenship or American green card right here. This is a lot of these women, too, getting these Western men. Trust me. There's a reason when I look at, once you travel around the world, for instance, in Asia, I don't waste a lot of time, but let's just do it simple. There's a difference between Northern Asians and Southern Asians. Now, of course, if you're Southern Asian, but you're of Chinese, like Singaporeans, they are Northern Asians. What's a Northern Asian? Chinese, Japanese, Korean. What are Southern Asians? Vietnamese, Cambodian, Thai. Is one better than the other? No. Are they different? Europe, Western Europe, Eastern Europe. There is a difference in DNA. And remember, who founded America? Western European. Is one better than the other? No, not saying that. But are they different? Oh yeah, there's difference. So here you have an Eastern European woman. Look at this story.
For the last 11 years with American men, and we get
divorced. Start this over.
I'm single now. I was married for the last 11 years with American men, and we get divorced last year.
And then when did you move to the United States?
It was 2015.
So, okay, you've been here
10 years. Yeah, I do have my citizenship.
Through your husband?
Of course. Yeah, American men bring me here.
And then
now
you divorced him? Yeah.
No, I didn't. I mean, It was not my choice.
Who initiated the divorce?
Me.
Do you have kids?
Yes, we have a daughter. She's going to be 9.
Does he pay you alimony?
Yeah, of course. It's just American laws.
Are you guys living in the same city?
Well, he's visiting us in Denver every once in a while, but he's traveled a lot for work. But
So you have full custody of your child?
No, it's not whole custody. It's 50-50.
So he pays you child support and alimony.
Yeah.
How long does he have to pay you alimony for?
I think it's 3.5 years or something, or 4.
How much does he pay you per month?
I'm not gonna say that.
I don't think people should pay alimony.
The laws are really rigged against men, and honestly, it's put society in a place where men really don't want to get married, especially to American women, unfortunately. And so I think that's why you're seeing prenups become a lot more common.
It's interesting. I don't think I'm ever going to have any interviews with Asian women per se, or even Asian men that are living in the West, particularly born and raised. They don't want men like me. Why? Because I've seen the real Asia. And Asians in the West, and we'll talk about it, have been spoiled, and they manipulate the people in the West, the white people, in terms of we call them Taupai. It's actually called the Trump card. It's a Taupai. It's a token card. You know, the race car, the race car, stuff like that. Where Asian women know what I've seen. But if you notice that, and some people say, hey, David, you really should be on this interview with this Asian woman. I'm telling you, if these Asian women are born and raised in the West or lived a long time, they don't want to talk with a guy like me. So the same thing with this Eastern European women. Why? Well, let's just use common sense. That situation happens in Russia. We're going to assume she's from Russia, Eastern Europe. Yeah, this stuff doesn't. Alimony doesn't happen. These women know they get to the West and they get the goodies because and if they don't, they say the same thing. I noticed with American, I've seen the same thing. Meaning Asian women, I guess you could say it's the opposite. Notice how the white man, they want to get the straight off the boat, I guess you could say. But these Eastern European women or Asian women, when they go to the West, they want to find white men that are absolutely ignorant about the non-Western world, and they're going to take advantage of you. Guys like me who've lived here, not even close. For instance, when I'm with my Asian partners, they know very clearly that they hit the lotto. I'm a white man and they're an Asian woman. My status is here and their status is here. Don't believe me? Then find an Asian man. Because I would prefer a white woman. They're just hard to get. They just have high standards and this and that. But once you start understanding the hierarchies of because it's politically incorrect, this stuff would never fly in the West. Because we're communists. In the West, we're communism. Everyone's equal. Everyone's the same. Fat girls, skinny girls, all the same, except for men, talking all this stuff. Race, black and white, it's all skin color. You wait until you go to the non-Western world. It is so hierarchical, you have no clue, to include men and women. So they'll go to the West and they will use and abuse, particularly these dumb white men. I'm telling you, I've seen it all the time. They don't want me. Like if I came back to the West, like if I met Asian girl, like we'll say a Chinese woman that was either born and raised in America or she immigrated to America, but she's lived here at least 10 years, 15 years. And I'm like, hey, my name's David. I live in China. I'm fluent in Chinese. I've been in your country. They will avoid me like the plague, which is an interesting question. Why? I know their culture. I know their language. They don't want a guy like me at all because they know. They prefer that white guy that says, I don't know anything about China, but I just watched a movie and I'm fascinated. And you're fucked. You are fucked. But I'm telling you, you watch these girls. So I'm not saying to the white men not to go to these foreign countries. And some people are like saying these foreign girls only want you for your money or passport. Not really. I'm telling you. And again, Eastern Europe could be a little different. But if you're in Asia, just by you being white, you could be a poor, fat English teacher. I should do episodes on English teachers. I never quite knew this profession until I got to China. But there's just a lot of yo-yo American white dudes or whatever that are just English teachers. Not exactly the creme de la creme. They're killing it in Asia. Killing it. Why? Because they're white. And if anyone thinks that's racist, well, welcome to the real world. The world is racist. And if anyone says, What's the big deal? Why is white higher than Asian higher than, well, I don't know. Ask them. Go ask the Asian people. Not like I went to Asia, said, I'm white and you have to put me at a higher pedestal. That would be the most ridiculous thing ever. They'll do it. And once you understand the hierarchy, it comes a lot with Confucianism, and it relates to politics too. Don't fool yourself. I don't want to change the subject here. When Donald Trump and the MAGA grifters went to Beijing to kiss ass to Xi Jinping in China, despite communism's evil, fascism's evil. Well, why did they go? Because it's about power. And money and power also come hand in hand. They went there and they looked, and the world, the laws of nature are hierarchical for many reasons. But the white guy continues to think, because we're communism, that everything's equal, everything's equal. Good luck. You're going to get used and abused. All right. Last video. I think this is probably the best one here. This guy's kind of kicking it here. Let's hear what he says.
Disaster for this country. Women's liberation, as we all know, has been a disaster for this country. We taught them how to read, we gave them the right to vote, and we are putting them in college. We're letting them party for the first 30 years of their life. I'm a Christian, but I look at the Middle East and I look at Muslims and they seem to have their women in check. Do we need to bring some?
He makes a point. Now, I've said many times, the West is Christian first, but the enemy is not Islam. Now, the West is not home to Islam, and Islam should never be an official religion in the West. And especially the demographics should remain generally white, European. But I'm telling you, we in the West are communists. And there's a lot of these non-Western religions, philosophies, you name it, to include Islam, that can teach the liberal communist white man a lot. But I can tell you something. What is this video about? Feminism, communism, globalism, all related. Islam, I don't think that you don't see many feminists with Islam. There is stuff to be learned. I learned a lot from Taoism ever since I was a child. That there's something about Taoism, which was one of the reasons that brought me to China. There's something about Taoism. And part of Taoism, you study the laws of nature, because we as human beings are bound by the laws of nature. But I don't have a problem with Islam. My only things is, one, it should never be an official religion in the West. I don't mind, you can study. And two, the demographics, I don't have a problem with Arab people, but there should be a home. Same thing, I support the Palestinians. I believe the Palestinians are a people and they have a home. I even support the Native Americans are a people, but I don't want to do much of a tangent. But generally speaking, the Western countries, particularly Europe, is the home of the white man. I didn't say the white woman, the white man. And then the white man takes care of the white woman and then takes care of the white children. But it's the white man that are leaders. Think I'm kind of being too much? Well, once you start living in these non-Western worlds, what do you think the laws of the land are in China? It's the home of the Chinese man. So I make that point, but you see a lot of these MAGA people, the enemy's Islam. It's not. The enemy's not Islam, but Islam is not the official religion in the West. And no, I'm not really a big fond of when the white population is dropping. I see these Arabs and Africans and Asians. No, I'm not a big fan of that. But there is a lot to be learned from Islam. I would rather spend a day with a devout Muslim than the typical globalist, consumerist, hollow American man who just wants to drink a beer, eat a hot dog, and watch the football game. What an empty vassal of a soul that is.
Sort of Sharia law to America to get our women back in check? Do we need to put them in burqas? They're dressing like whores, they're killing babies, and they think they're smarter than they are. So what do we do about this?
Let's fucking go, man.
Yeah, I think that guy does not need to go to China or the non-Western world. I think that guy could just pass go already and collect $200. Whatever he learned, he's ahead of the power curve.
We got a smart guy over here, man. I agree with you 100%. I don't think we need Sharia law because I do think, even me growing up as a Muslim, I understand that Sharia law simply just isn't compatible with a Western democracy. It just isn't. But I do think that, this country was founded as a Christian country, and I think we could just go back to Christian ethics and that will handle a lot of the problems.
Okay, that's today's episode. Let's do a rehash. Very simple. Feminism, globalism, communism, it's all the same. And men have got to, because again, it always goes back to white men. You are responsible. We are to blame. No one else is to blame. The Asians, the Africans, the Jews, no one's to blame. It's always the white man. This country was founded by our forefathers. If we fail, it's our fault. But anyway, back to feminism. The question is one question and one question only. Do women deserve the right to vote? It's either a yes or no question. If it's yes, then you're a feminist. And you will be treated equally, because this is about power, equally as a man. If it's no, and you believe women do not deserve the right to vote, then women are protected. We are now in a traditional society. Men's lives are expendable, and women's lives are cherished and protected along with children, but they're not leadership. They are not in the economics world, business world, in politics and military. They are not to be in positions of leadership. I'm not saying they all got to be stay-at-home wives. They could do some admin stuff. I mean, we could work that out, but they are not in positions of leadership. It is the men who run the country. But if women want the right to vote, that's fine. But they need to be held to the same standard as men. And if you think they are, you are living in an absolute la-la land. You're crazy. Until then, this is David Baumblatt from Terabinth Leadership telling the Patriots, I appreciate your support. Lead to victory.